Yon. Good evening everyone. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you sa mga nood ngayong gabing to and sa mga replay viewers natin na manonood later on. Welcome and it's great na makasama namin kayo ngayong gabi. At sobrang excited nga ako kasi itong guest speaker natin ngayon ay sobrang tagahanga ako. And pag nakikita ko yung photos niya, sobrang na-amaze talaga ako. And sobrang blessed tayo ngayong gabi kasi makikita natin kung paano niya ine-edit yung mga photos na to. Yung sobrang magical talaga and sobrang ewan ko, breathtaking kapag nakikita ko yung photos niya and parang kung sa millennial terms, mapapasana all ka na lang. And yun, before we start, gusto ko lang malaman kung okay ba yung audio natin ngayong gabi. At kung okay siya, just comment down below kung clear ba yung audio natin. And just comment din kung nanonood kayo ngayong gabi para ma-shoutout namin kayo. And if you have any questions later on for our guest speaker, just comment. Feel free to ask questions and ituturo namin or ituturo ni Sir lahat ng mga sikreto niya. Mga naitatayo. Hindi naman lahat kasi syempre yung video natin is intended for beginners and starters. So kung nagsisimula ka pa lang ngayon ng photography or nasa bandang mid-level ng journey mo as a photographer and na gusto mo mag-start sa landscape and nature, yun, perfect tong live session natin ngayon. So wag na natin patagalin pa at i-welcome na natin yung nasa backstage natin ngayon na napaka-pogi at gwapo-gwapo. Si Sir Edwin Martinez. Ayan, no? Kunwari, nag-iisip pa. Hi, Sir
Hello,
Edwin.
guys.
Good evening.
Hello, Jeff. Thank you for having me as a guest.
Yes, yun.
I'm quite excited, no? Kasi it's been a long time na nag-Facebook Live ako. I only did once sa page ko noon. And
Yes, I remember it, sir.
Hindi na nasundan because, quite busy and I need to finish some stuff. So, yun. Hope everyone is okay with the pandemic. And I'd like to greet yung viewers ni Jeff, viewers ko. This is going to be an exciting session and hopefully
yes.
Maging isang lively. So if you want to post your pictures on the comment section, I can critic to give some pointers on how to improve your composition or your post-processing. So yun lang.
Yes.
Gusto ka na,
Sir
Jeff?
Edwin, bali, gusto ko lang itanong kung ano bang pinagkakaabalahan mo ngayong pandemic?
Well, yung business ko kasi photo tour business. So it's one of those industry na widely affected. So all of my tours this year canceled. So 2021 is not also looking good yung first half of the year. So ngayon, benta ng prints, family time, bonding, especially online schooling, you need to help your kids, assist your kids, no? Parang kami nga naka-enroll hindi yung mga bata.
Kayo yung nag-aaral, sir, no?
Oo. Grabe ang online schooling. Pero it's really nice because talaga natututukan mo kasi the kids hindi kumukopya ng notes minsan, so yung assignment, di mo alam kung meron sila. You can see it kasi it's online, so they post it there. So natututukan mo if ginagawa ng bata or hindi. I think in the future, the schools might want to consider hybrid na may online tsaka face-to-face once the pandemic is gone.
So parang it's good to have yung kumbaga yung improvement ngayon and mixed up with the other in-person teaching method, sir, no?
Yep.
Yes. So yun, bali sir, nakikita ko sa Facebook nyo, sobrang active nyo kasi 'di ba nagpo-post kayo ng mga photos nyo and sobrang gaganda nung mga pinupuntahan nyo. Saan nyo ba mga nakukuha yan? Yung mga ibon na yan.
Oo nga eh. Since I run tour business, so most of yung mga pinopost ko was from my previous tours. So most of them are in Iceland, Norway, Canada, Patagonia, US, New Zealand, Indonesia. So, yun. Yung mga birds naman, yung sa wildlife,
Mhm.
So the polar bears, nung nagpunta ako ng Svalbard or Spitsbergen, which is next to the North Pole, some of the birds then, yung mga bald eagles sa Vancouver, and then dito sa Pilipinas, yun, I think our birds are one of the most colorful in the world. Tsaka mas maganda yung selection natin dito kaysa sa Northern Hemisphere, no, since tropical tayo. So yun.
Eto nga sir, papakita ko lang yung Instagram account mo.
Di na nga ako nakaka-post dyan eh.
Pero grabe, tignan nyo guys, kung nakikita nyo ngayon sa screen nyo, ito yung mga photos ni Sir Edwin, which is siya yung magtuturo sa atin ngayon kung paano niya i-edit ito through the software of Adobe Camera Raw. And tignan nyo naman, grabe guys, yung Northern Lights na sa TV ko lang nakikita. Nung nakita ko sa photo, grabe ginawa kong wallpaper, Sir Edwin. Sorry.
Okay lang, okay lang. No, the Northern Lights, I think this pandemic, I think it teaches us something then na life is short, our freedom can be cut, or the freedom to travel can be easily taken away. So, suggestion ko nga, after the pandemic, di ba? I mean, try to at least check your bucket list, no? So, yun. And the Northern Lights is one of those things that you have to see talaga. I mean, ako every time I see it, I've been photographing it since 2011. So 9 years, no?
9 years.
And every year, every time na nakikita ko siya, same reaction, same excitement, yung pa rin yung nararamdaman ko eh.
Kasi sir, di ba iba-iba yung itsura niya, iba-iba yung pattern pag
Yeah,
nakikita nyo no?
Oo. Hindi siya it's not always the same. So parang clouds din yan. So every time it's different. Tsaka depende sa level of activity. Kunyari, may solar flare, dun lumalakas yung activity. Yun, mas talagang kita mo yung mga spikes, yung curtains, yung...
Meron ako nakita sir, mukhang phoenix na napicturean nyo. Grabe.
Ano yun, it's one of those things na talagang you have to see it with your own eyes and experience it. And I'm so happy that yung most of my clients, most of my tours, 90% yung batting average ko na nakikita nila yung Northern Lights. Sobrang malas mo na lang pag hindi mo nakita. So yun. So I brought a lot of Filipinos in Iceland, especially 2019. Yun, isa sa pinakamalakas na Northern Lights. Ang dami kong Filipino na nadala. You have the likes of doctors, businessman, employee, na nakita nila talaga yung Northern Lights and they were able to photograph it. Yung parang Phoenix End, that's in Lofoten. Yan,
grabe sir, ang ganda di ba? Parang, ito, sir ko, shucks, grabe, yung kung paano yung timing, tapos yung itsura niya talaga nagmukhang Phoenix.
Sobrang wide na yan 16mm na yan. So it's 16mm, hindi pa rin kinaya ng lente dahil nga ang Northern Lights talagang sobra, it fills the whole sky once the activity is so big.
Sobrang ako yung na-excite ngayon, no? Sana yung mga viewers natin ngayon, na-excite ba kayo? Just comment down below. Bali sir, batiin lang natin yung mga nanonood sa atin. And sa mga replay viewers natin, thank you for watching this video. And mag-start na tayo in a few minutes, I think. And so yun, sir, batiin lang natin yung mga nanonood. Si Miss Janice Bihar.
Hi, Janice!
Lodi daw, Lodi. Si Sir Marvin Noscal, yan, isa sa mga Canon professional shooters natin.
Marvin,
thank you. Sabi ni Sir Janice, ni Miss Janice, Sir Edwin, pa-picture daw. Kapag naging okay na, magpa-picture tayo.
Sayang, wala nang sana, kasi every time nakita ko si Janice sa Canon Clickers event And,
magkakaroon kaya nun? Sana magkaroon.
Almost every year.
Rin ako.
Oo, tumataan ako dyan just to say hi kasi mga kaibigan na yung mga yan. So,
shout out sa mga Canon Clickers Club, sir, no?
Uy, Matoy!
Ito si
all the way
Sir
Matoy, all the way from Cagayan de Oro.
Wow! Thank you for watching, Sir Matoy. Thank you. Ayan si Sir Borgie Javier, that dream job. Lahat naman siguro.
Sa una, it can be really fun, but traveling takes its toll din. So gusto ko lang explain din na it's not always fun. Kasi pag-asikaso ng visa, tapos if something happened, like maiwan ka ng aeroplano, there was one time naiwan ako ng aeroplano, I had to spend like another $1,700.
Shucks.
Nagkaroon ng delay. Tapos noon, separate yung booking, so hindi kinover ng airline. So yun, maraming bubus, like sa luggage mo lang. Europe kasi, you can only bring one piece luggage na 23 kilograms. If you're staying there for a month, paano mo pagkakasyahin lahat yun? Tapos yung camera gear mo pa. Kaya nga natuwa ako sa R5 and the RF lenses and the R6 kasi mas magaang na ngayon yung dala kong camera gear, which we'll
Feeling
talk
ko
later.
talaga, feeling ko talaga, it will help you, sir, sa workload mo.
Yeah. Definitely.
Si David Arahan, sabi, good evening po Kuya Jeff and Sir Edwin. Yan. Sa mga shooter ko yan, sir, nung time na nagwe-wedding pa kami, tag-event.
Si Miss Claudette, hi Miss Claudette.
Si
Vito.
Miss Claudette, ayan. Hi, Ed.
Yes,
Yan.
they own, she's one of my clients, but she's also a travel agency, one of those industry na affected din sa CV Travels. Yan, their company is really good. So I booked some of my tours there. So you might want to
I
check
hope,
out.
sir, makasama rin ako in the future.
Yeah.
Okay, bali sir, start na tayo kasi yun, para marami na tayong matutunan and yung mga viewers natin, I think, nag-aabang na din.
Ilan na ba viewers natin? Hindi ko pa nakikita.
32. So far, sir, meron tayong 32 viewers, which is
Okay lang yun.
pinakamalaki na sa talambuhay ko na nag-livestream. Siguro
Di
kasi
yan, marami pa yan.
Sir Edwin.
Walang na-share mabuti. I've been busy testing this kasi. Ayan, the R5.
Ayan nga, ipapakita niya na. Grabe, sir, you have the R5. Wow.
I've been testing it for the couple of days kaya medyo naging busy din eh. So,
guys, R5, nakita nyo.
so ano
yun,
ba
sir,
gusto nating matutunan sa post-processing?
Bali sir, una kong itatanong sana is before we dive into the editing part, gusto ko itanong muna yung Adobe Camera Raw workflow kasi siguro yung iba sa atin nag-edit ngayon sa Lightroom and we think yung Adobe Camera Raw is a powerful tool din talaga for photography. And nakita ko yung workflow nyo, sir, sobrang ganda. And gusto ko lang, sir, sana ma-share nyo tonight kung paano nyo ginagamit tong Adobe Camera Raw sa mga shoots nyo.
Siguro, let me share first kung ano yung teka lang, open
Go
system. Share ko lang sa screen yung mga slides. I prepared a little slide para it's easier to... Yan.
Sobrang premium nung live natin ngayon. May slideshow pa si Sir Edwin.
Nakita nyo na, parang share na ba yung screen?
Hindi pa, sir. Just click the share screen, sir, sa baba. And meron din lalabas na ano.
Okay. Teka lang, yung entire screen. So, yun.
Sa
Okay.
application window, sir. Click yung application window. Tapos piliin nyo yung keynote.
Hindi siya keynote eh. So,
PowerPoint. Kung PowerPoint or
hindi,
keynote.
ano lang naman siya. What's this? Pictures. Yan.
Yun. Sige, sir. Click nyo lang yan, sir.
Okay. Ayan.
Hintayin ko lang lumabas dito. Yun pala, guys, sa mga nanonood, if you have questions, just type sa comment box natin and we will entertain it midway. So, yun. Ito na, yung...
Teka, kasi hindi nakita. Ayan, nakita mo na to? Yan,
yes,
pwede mo na i-share.
Ito na, sir.
Okay.
There you go.
So, ano bang editing software ko? Well, most photographers ngayon, they choose either Lightroom or Adobe Photoshop. So, the newer photographers, they use Lightroom, no? Ang Lightroom kasi all-in-one na yan eh. From catalog system or library system to develop system to sharing system yan nila. No? Ako old school. I haven't migrated fully to Lightroom. If you guys are in Lightroom, okay lang. Kasi yung Adobe Camera Raw is the same as the developed setting ng Lightroom. So whatever I'm gonna teach here is the same as Lightroom. develop module ng Lightroom. So ako naman, Adobe Bridge for my catalog system, pagka-tag ko, pag dinalagyan ko ng, pag kina-classify ko, 4-star, 3-star, Adobe Bridge ang ginagamit ko. It's free. You can actually download it for free for most people na may Adobe ID account. And then of course, the Adobe Camera Raw, then Adobe Photoshop CC. Yung Adobe Camera Raw, I think it's safe to say it is the same as the develop module of Lightroom. It is the internal raw development or raw processor ng Photoshop. So any file na raw, pag binuksan mo, automatic, either kung wala kang Lightroom at Photoshop ka, yun ang magbubukas, Adobe Camera Raw. So let me switch back to, ayan.
Go lang, sir. Sige. Ayusin niyo na.
Ayan, okay na? So, yun lang naman yung ano. Oops, ano yan?
Oops. Sorry.
Yan.
Ibalik. Yan.
Okay. So, yun lang yun. So, ano ba ang Adobe Camera Raw? It's the internal auditing software of Photoshop. Biglang dami nang nag-greet, ah.
Ang dami nga nag-greet, sir. So, let's greet them first. So, ito si Miss Jonah Empay. Good evening, Sir Edwin Martinez.
Hi, Jonah. Thank you pala sa help mo for being featured in by the governor of Albay. Yeah.
Grabe. Ito pa, sir, I don't know if it's Ma'am Win or Sir Win. Uy.
Nanonood din pala si RF all the way from Davao. Yung Chinese, Japanese characters.
Ito, sir. Yan. Way to go, Sir Edwin. Yan.
David Arahan, nandyan. Herald Presado from all the way from Legazpi. Yun. So, going back, I think kung hindi ka pa nagsushoot ng RAW, then you should start. Madali naman mag-RAW plus JPEG eh. For me, it's future-proofing your file eh. I always use the word future-proofing. Bakit future-proofing? Kasi you'll never know if someone will buy your prints. Or for billboard, for example. I have one student before when I was teaching. Lumapit siya sa akin, sabi niya, Edwin, somebody's gonna buy my photo. And billboard ang requirement nila. Problema niya, naka-JPEG siya. Okay, so yun yung earlier times nga na nag-shoot na hindi pa siya gumagamit ng RAW. Trinay naming i-perfect resize, etc. Nahabol naman, pero the problem is the dynamic range. So, yun, medyo, buti na lang yung billboard sa sobrang laki, hindi mo makikita yung blemishes or yung noise.
Yung mga pixel pitch details.
Pero what if, di ba? What if hindi lang sa loob ng mall na malaking print, no? Katulad ng power plant. So, it's nice that you future-proof your file. Siguro I'd like to share this. Mag-share ako ulit o naka-share naman? Naka-share pa rin.
Go lang, sir. Nandito lang sa akin.
Sige. So, whatever I'm gonna share. Okay. So, ito yung gusto kong pakita. Ano bang disadvantage at advantage? Ayan, maybe you can share this. Ano bang disadvantage and advantage of shooting RAW versus JPEG? No? So, ang RAW kasi contains 14-bit of information. Sabi ng mga iba, 16-bit. That's not true. It's 14-bit. Most of the RAW files that we have in our camera is 14-bit. No? Yung additional 2-bit, pag transfer sa Photoshop, in-interpolate niya kaya nagiging 16-bit. Ang JPEG, sabihin na natin container yung dalawang yan. So, wala akong baso dito eh. Meron ako. Ay, nandun pala yung mga baso namin. So,
eto, sir, kunwari baso.
So, isipin mo na lang, lente. Okay, lente. Yung 1535 o 1635 na lente, ganyan nakaliit, yan ang JPEG. Ang 7200 na lente, parang katulad nito, o lente na ganito, yan ang RAW. So, yun yung laman na information niya. No? So, it contains more information. The only setback is that RAW has a larger file. Ang JPEG, a smaller file, easier to manage. File size. Okay? Then, another, ano pa doon, ang RAW kasi, selected software lang ang pwede mag-view and edit. So if you don't have Photoshop, you don't have other editing softwares, hindi mo siya ma-view sa Finder or File Explorer, especially kung wala kang Camera Raw codec sa Windows mo or sa MacBook mo. Ang
Especially sa
JPEG,
phone, sir.
sa
Kasi 'di
phone.
ba,
Minsan di
pag
mo rin
phone di mo
mababasa sa phone
mape-preview.
mo. Samantalang JPEG, universal, nakikita mo kahit saan, no? So yun ang advantage ng JPEG. Pero yun nga, you can always shoot RAW plus JPEG. So if you want something na for sharing lang, you have the JPEG. Then yung RAW mo, tago mo, and use it as a as to future-proof your file. So yun. Ayan. So I hope people would understand the importance of RAW. Kasi ang RAW, madali mong mabago yung mga ibang pagkakamali mo sa field. Like white balance, konting exposure correction. There's a lot more leeway. Tapos nun, less yung noise pag inedit mo, pag
Yes,
sinaturate
yes,
mo, walang
yes.
color banding. So yun. Yun yung mga things that, that really can help you out. So, yun. Marami pa bang mga nagano?
Meron, sir, 'yan. Bali, sir, yun nga kasi napansin ko, it's long debate yung RAW versus JPEG na 'yan, and I think it's about the preference, no?
Well,
And
yeah. Well, marami kasi depende rin kung anong genre of photography. Kung wedding ka, you cannot lahat raw file tapos nun same day edit, mahirap 'yon. Or for
yeah.
example, sports photographer. Ang ibang
Mhm.
sports photographer, kunyari nagko-cover ka ng mga SEA Games and you need to submit it agad, di ba? So
Yes, yes.
sometimes they shoot JPEG, yung JPEG, yun na yung sinasubmit nila. So they have to get it correct, no? Pati mga photo journalist.
Mhm.
So yun, it really depends din sa genre. Pero it's not naman siguro mahirap na mag-RAW plus JPEG ka. Tapos nun siguro, yun nga, itago mo whatever you need for printing, etc. So yun. Kasi ang mura
Which
na
is
ngayon. Sige,
nung
go
sir,
ahead.
nung nag-ano ako, nag-wedding pa ako back then, yung mga photographers ko talaga, yun, sinasabihan ko mag-RAW kasi we never know kasi pag yung client gustong ipa-blow up, which
Exactly.
is, di
Yun,
ba?
no?
Kasi yon, and ang ginagawa ko naman as a studio owner dati, which is sa mga studio owner natin yan, pwede nyo i-apply to kasi at least yung sabi nga ni Sir Edwin kanina, future proofing yung RAW. So yun, nagpo-provide ako Sir Edwin ng ng sarili kong SD card for them para hindi kumbaga hindi sila mahirapan for file size management.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Tsaka ang mura na ngayon ng ang mura na ngayon ng
SD card.
storage.
Mm.
So, sobra na. Like, for example, SD cards ngayon, ako ang ginagawa ko kasi, naghihintay ako ng Black
Sale.
Friday sale sa US, Amazon. Actually, magsisale yan, $16 lang, 64 gig, 128 gig. Yun.
Which is
I
sa atin
never,
ngayon, sir, uso, di ba? 9.9 sale, mga 8.8
yes, sa
sale sa
Lazada.
Lazada and
Yun.
Shopee.
Ingat lang kayo. You have to choose the right because SD cards are more prone to makorrupt siya
Mm.
kaysa sa CF card. So, nangyari na sa akin yan recently eh. Biglang nawala
Yes.
lahat ng shoot ko eh. Oh, I have to recover it eh. Yun nga. So, yun lang. You have to choose the right brand. I think there's a question here
Go
by
lang, sir.
ni Win Loner Uy. Kung applicable din sa smartphone. Yes. Actually, maganda yan. Ako, sa phone ko, I always shoot RAW din eh. RAW plus JPEG. So, kasi malaki naman yung storage ko. Ginagamit ko minsan yung phone ko to shoot yung mga selfie ng mga clients, yung mga souvenir shot
Oh.
ng mga
Mm,
clients.
mm.
And sometimes mangingi sila and gusto ko ibigay yung maganda. So, yung RAW kasi I'm using ngayon Huawei P30 Pro. So yun, palagi may RAW ako sa folder ko. Tapos yun ang ginagamit ko. Binibigyan ko sila ng kasi sometimes yun nga, magsiset up pa ako ng pero gusto nila magpa-selfie, ginagamit ko na yung phone ko for them. So it's nice then to shoot it. Tas ngayon, it's a challenge. I think there's a lot of photographers ngayon na they live up to the challenge na whatever camera you're using. So yung smartphones, ginagamit nila to shoot Milky Way, macro, you can shoot RAW. Pero hindi siya true 14-bit file, alam ko.
Yes, yes.
Hindi siya, alam ko mga nasa 10-bit lang yan. So may
Which
additional
is kasi
2-bit
yung
ka.
sensor niya, sir, di ba? Kahit sabihin nating mataas yung megapixel, yung sensor niya, ganito pa rin kaliit di ba? I mean,
Yeah.
sa phone.
Yep. Better pa rin talaga if you're in a professional field or you're trying to make a name for yourself. in photography, then use the right tools naman.
Yes. So yun, bali Sir Edwin, we've discussed na kung ano yung workflow nyo from Adobe Bridge, which is yung catalog
Mm.
ni Sir Edwin, yung album. Then, straight from Adobe Bridge, punta na agad ng Adobe
Photoshop.
Camera Raw and
Ah,
yun, Photoshop.
I mean,
Ang
Adobe
kagandahan,
Camera Raw
Sir,
and Photoshop. Yeah.
ang kagandahan sa Adobe software is connected sila sa isa't isa, kaya sobrang smooth ng workflow nyo, sir, no?
Yeah, tsaka tawag dito, I think it's still the best editing software right there. No? Maraming mga bago ngayon. Actually, I've been trying some editing software like Luminar. Maganda rin siya, Luminar. Yun lang, talagang in terms of R&D talaga, Adobe Photoshop, grabe. Ngayon, ang Adobe Photoshop, meron na sila for R5 and R6. They can already tawag dito, process the raw images or raw files of the R5 and R6.
Yes. Bali, Sir Edwin, since yun nga, na-discuss na natin yung ating workflow, diretso na tayo sa basic editing kasi alam ko ito na yung pinakakaabangan ng lahat eh. Yung kung paano nyo ini-edit yung mga photos nyo and yung mga tips na pwede nyo ibigay sa mga nagsisimula pa lang. Kasi 'di ba, iba-iba yung mga editing style natin eh. And alam ko sir, marami kayong insightful na may sasabi sa mga nanonood nating viewers. Ngayon, live and sa replay natin.
Sige, siguro I'll start muna kung ano bang purpose of editing. No? So,
Go, sir.
There are many purposes of editing. Eh. First is corrective. So, you correct whatever pagkukulang ng camera mo. For example, exposure mo mali or sobra yung shadows or blown out yung highlights, those are corrective. Second naman is more on creative. Yun yung mga naglalagay ka ng mga orton glow or change mo yung white balance to suit your mood, no? Yung iba naman goes further, digital imagery. Not really for me photography, but digital imagery. Naglalagay ng buwan, naglalagay ng Milky Way. So that's the creative aspect of editing. Ako naman, I always leave up dun sa corrective and creative, but up to the point na yung photography is still there. No? So, yun. Siguro I'll show some files ng before and after, no?
Go sir, sige. Okay, itanggalin ko lang tong akin. Okay, yeah.
Okay, sana yun? Ay. Okay.
So yun, sa mga nanonood dyan, don't forget to share this live stream. And sa YouTube community, sa mga nanonood sa Facebook, you may transfer sa ating YouTube live. So, yun.
YouTube.
Para mas maganda doon.
Correct pronunciation no? YouTube.
YouTube. Iba-iba na. Dati YouTube lang eh. Ngayon, YouTube.
Yan yung correct pronunciation daw eh. YouTube. Anyway, so ito yung before, no? This was taken in Patagonia. I used this file already dun sa Canon Masterclass, pero I'd like just to show you. Ito yung raw file. So, since I use filters and everything, yung dynamic range ng camera cannot really capture kasi palabas pa lang yung araw nito eh. So, ito yung raw, no? Before. So, makita mo talagang medyo madilim, tapos yung colors are not that much, hindi siya ganun saturated. So, ito naman ngayon yung after. So, para makita nyo. Yan. So,
grabe.
So, with general editing lang, so this took me like 10 minutes of editing. So, napalabas mo lahat ng detalye. Details ng puno, yung shadows, na-recover mo ng konti, tapos the colors popped out. So, these are the things. This is corrective and a little touch of probably my own interpretation of anong kulay or what's the white balance during the time na sinut ko siya. So yun, so it's very important talaga na you edit with a purpose. Hindi yung bara-barabay na lang na ang dami mong natutunan, o bumili ka na itong tutorial na to, o may napanood ka sa YouTube, o may napanood ka sa Facebook Live katulad nito, tapos in-apply mo lahat. Hindi yun. It's not paramihan ng technique na alam to. It's what the picture needs, no? What the picture, kumbaga kung ano yung kailangan nung photograph, no? Kung ano yung mga edits na kailangan niya lang. And yung creative aspect na sinasabi ko, kung ano yung gusto mong i-apply. Hindi lahat na dapat natutunan mo, apply mo. Kunyari, oy, eto may action ako nakuha, o play. Tapos isa action, play. Pwede ka maglaro, yes. Pero at the end of the day, you have to present your work na talagang number one, hindi naman true to the scene, but true to its form,
Yes,
which is
yes.
photography, di ba? Excuse me. And also, yun nga, na tama, kumbaga, walang noise, walang dust spots, hindi tilted yung horizon, yung mga yon, hindi creative ano yan eh. Mga iba dyan, oh, that's my creative, ek-ek.
Way.
That's my creative ek-ek. Tilted ang horizon, creative ek-ek. No, that's alam mo, ang dami na ngayon, yun ang ginagamit na excuse eh. Yung mga general things na dapat to consider, na dapat ang horizon straight, walang dust spot yung camera mo. Yun ang nakakalimutan ng ibang mga bagong photographers ngayon eh. Tapos nun, ang rason nila, hindi, creative ko yan, linagay ko talaga yan, dust spot linagay.
So yan, we need to be careful din, di ba sir, na kung paano tayo mag-shoot.
Yes.
Saka, yung, kumbaga, yung horizon talagang matagal na sinasabi. Yun yung una ko natutunan actually na, dati kasi kung mag-shoot ako, yun nga sir, parang tinitilt ko, ganun. Siguro sa portrait, pwede siya, kasi parang it adds something.
Pero naman din, pwede na yung tinitilt mo yung horizon na para maging diagonal. Creative intent yun. Pero kunyari, slightly tilted na
Just
ganun.
slightly tilted.
Oo, halatado na hindi mo kinorek. I always tell my students and my tour participants, get it right at the click of the camera and not the mouse. Mas madali ang buhay mo after. Diba? Kasi
wag yung tsaka na sa editing.
Oo, if you have that attitude na always na, hindi, let's do it in post. Wala, it's gonna take longer in terms of process. Hindi mo ma-share yung work mo agad kasi kailangan mo pa yung process. So, yun. Samantalang isang ganun mo lang sa field, pag correct mo na ganun, it takes like few seconds, tapos na. Di ba? So, what you can do in the field, gawin mo na.
Yes. Bali, Sir Edwin, can we show them kung paano mag-edit tonight? I mean,
Sige.
Do you have a raw file there?
Yes, I'm ready with the raw file.
Yon.
Okay,
sige, habang nire-ready nyo, sir, babati lang ako ng mga nanonood sa atin. Thank you for watching, Mira. thank you sa pag-support dyan. Beginner here, yan. So, if maka-acquire ka na ng new camera mo later on, ito, pwede mo tong balikan, tong video na to para matutunan mo. Sobrang simple lang. As in, kung mag-edit si Sir Edwin, sobrang dali niya lang matutunan. And yun nga, kasi kung yung sinasabi ni Sir Edwin na kapag shinat niya talaga, kung ano yung gusto niyang pakita sa picture, kailangan right from the camera pa lang, tama na. Kaya yung editing niya sobrang subtle lang. Kaya yon. Hello, Mami Ginger. Thank you po sa panonood ngayon dyan sa YouTube community natin. So, yan. Ang ganda daw, Sir Edwin, ng photos mo.
Ay, thank you, ma'am.
Yan.
So, ito, meron na akong start natin.
Okay, sir. Sige. Pwede ko na bang i-share to, sir?
Wait. Sino yung pinapasa ko lang? But parang konti ng comment dito sa akin. Okay. So, sige, let's do it. Let's share itong Adobe Bridge. So, explain ko lang. So, this is Adobe Bridge. Naka-share na, Jeff, no?
Yes, sir. Andito
okay,
na.
So this is Adobe Bridge, no? So, ano bang Adobe Bridge? So, it's like the library module ng Lightroom. Ako, I use this to view pictures kasi it can view RAW, JPEG, PNG, TIFF files, so it can view a lot of files. So, once you click here, makita mo sa side na to, on the left side, yung properties ng picture mo. When was it taken? Ano yung ginamit mong lente? And you can also view yung picture ng malaki rito from 100% zoom to, yun nga, pag-clinic ko to, mag-zoom in, makikita ko na agad. So I can see kung sharp yung photo ko or not. So yun yung mga ano. So I'm gonna edit this photo. This was taken in Iceland, Vatnajökull Glacier National Park. It's the biggest national park of Iceland. It sits in one of the biggest glacier in Europe, no? In terms of mass.
Yes.
No? So, itong glacier na to, isang malaking glacier na to, kaya mo i-fit ang buong Manhattan dun
Grabe.
sa loob nung glacier na to. You can see it from outer space. So this is one of the ice caves that can be found there. So anong ginamit ko dito na camera? So I use, I think, the 5DS5DSR na 50 megapixel. Naku, gagapang camera ko dito. 50 megapixel pala itong napili ko.
Go
Ang
lang,
ano
sir.
ko,
Feel free to choose other file if you want.
hindi, okay lang to. Ayun,
Okay lang, sir. Go lang.
okay lang to. So ngayon, once you look at your picture like this, ano bang kailangan niyang correction? So ako, before akong pumunta agad sa Photoshop, hindi ako yung you get your guns out and start shooting, no? Mali yun eh. Ako before I edit, tinitingnan ko muna yung photos ng ilang beses. Like for example, this one. Ano bang gusto kong gawin i-correct dito? Siguro yung highlights, gusto ko i-saturate yung kulay ng yellow, gusto kong yung tao, yung kulay ng damit niya, mas saturated ng konti para nado-draw yung mata ng tao, yung mata ng viewer dun sa tao. And also siguro correct ko ng konti yung mga distortion. So those are the things that I need to do, no, before I run any editing here. So assessing your photo is an art also. So you have to do it. Kasi it's easier eh. If there's an intention, it's easier to do an action. Kumbaga, alam mo na kung ano yung gagawin mo, no? So let's say I open this. When I double click it, it opens to this window. This is called the Camera Raw, no? So it's let me.
So, bali sir, pagka dinoble click na nang namin sa Adobe Bridge, automatic na mag-open
Yes.
yung camera raw.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So ito yung bagong window kasi dati iba itsura ng Camera Raw. If you notice, iba na ngayon yung itsura niya. Ang tabs niya ngayon is nandito na. Oh. So, one straight na yung tab niya. Tapos nawala na dito sa taas yung mga tools, nandito na sa gilid. So, nagbago ang layout niya. Nung 12.2. No? 12.2. So, this is already 12.4. So, just to run down, this is the histogram. Then,
Yes.
these are the developed tools, no? Sa develop modules ng Lightroom mo, it's the same. Nandyan yung curve, nandyan yung point curve, etc. etc. Ako, before doing this, if bago ka sa Camera Raw, you need to do with this first. Sa baba nito, nandito yung properties. Operation? Bakit ayaw niya?
Go lang, sir.
So you have to click this, yung nasa baba. Operation, system, error occurred. So, pag clinic mo to, lilitaw yung file properties and you can change the file properties, no? Ayaw niya eh. Reset to default. Yan, tingnan natin.
Sige.
Ayaw pa rin eh. Gamit ako ng ibang photo. Teka lang ha. Cancel ko to. Nagamit ako ng ibang photo.
Baka sa sobrang laki ng file eh, no?
Ito 1DX lang to eh.
Or you may restart, sir, if you want, yung Adobe Bridge. Baka
No, I think it's... Sige, let's start with ito. Yung sa mga birding. Sige.
Yep.
Ayan, sige.
Yung
Ito.
birds nyo, sir, grabe, no? Bagong camera yung gamit nyo dyan.
EOS R5 ang gamit ko dito.
Grabe. So, guys, hindi lang tutorial yung nakikita natin ngayon ng Adobe Camera Raw, which is parang feeling ko tina-travel din tayo ni Sir Edwin sa loob ng mga bahay natin, sa mga pinupuntahan niya. Grabe na ang doon sa mga shots niya.
Ito sa ano ko lang to eh, what's this? Sa bakuran ko lang to eh. It's a few blocks away. Yan. Ito kaka-edit ko lang ng photo na to. Anyway, so here, I'll share this image. Okay?
Go, sir.
Okay. So, ito na, raw file. Anong pagkakamali ko sa photo na to? Kasi biglang lumabas yung araw while I was shooting this bird. So ngayon, nagbago yung exposure ko. Tingnan mo, nag-clip yung highlights.
Opo.
The thing about shooting raw, you can recover 1 stop to 1.5 stop sa highlights, depending on the sensor of the camera and the type of files you have, no? Sa shadow, ganun din. Kaya maraming photographers na nagtatanong, ano ba dynamic range ng camera na yan? Because sa dynamic range, kumbaga, it helps you to recover shadows or highlights, blown highlights. So, eto, Ayaw talaga. The operation cannot. So you can change the settings ng ano yan, ayaw. I think
Sige lang,
siguro
sir.
pag nag-screen share ako, ganun ata eh.
Opo, baka ayaw niyang ano.
So going back, so you have to change that properties. Pag change mo back, you have to change it to Adobe Bridge, Adobe RGB, and also you have to change it na 16-bit mode. Okay, so when
Mm.
you did that, may lalabas na module doon, meron kang
Mhm.
pipiliin, so you have to change that. Bakit? Always remember that Adobe Bridge, Adobe RGB has a wider gamut than sRGB. sRGB is for print, sRGB is for web, Adobe RGB is for print. So if you want to future-proof your file, all my PSD or TIFF files are in Adobe RGB. Then pag share ko sa web, sRGB. Okay?
Okay. Lalabas ko lang dito, sir, para ma-take note nila.
Sige.
Okay.
Okay.
Audio test lang tayo. Mahina ba guys yung mic ko? Sorry kung mahina. Hindi, ngayon ko lang napansin. Thank you, Mira, for mentioning my audio. Wait lang, sir. There you go.
Okay. So, tingnan natin.
Go, sir.
Okay. So, pa lang yung pic, maganda na. Thank you, GTV. Sabi ko nga, always aim for that na get it right at the click of the shutter than the mouse. Tapos konting editing ka na lang. Kasi kaya yan eh. Kumbaga ang tanong ko sa'yo, ang challenge dyan is, do you want to be known as a good editor or as a good photographer? You have to reflect on that eh. I want to be known as a good photographer. So I want to get it correct at the click of the shutter rather than the mouse. Diba? Yung mga ibang photographers, sumikat sila dahil sa post-processing technique nila, but not in the composition, not in the way they take the photos, no? Dami kong kilalang mga ibang lahi na photographers na ganun. Sumikat sila dahil sa editing nila, but
because of the post-processing.
Position, yun, or daya yung photo. So, nung nalaman ng mga tao na daya pala yun, kumbaga, yung mountain, di ganun itsura, liquify yung mountain, tapos yung flower, pinalaki sa post-processing, parang nawalan ng gana yung mga ibang tao sa kanila. Kasi, daya, di ba? So, might as well do it na lang na kumuha ko ng picture sa web, pag tikit-tikitin ko na lang. Di ba kung talagang magaling ako sa editing.
Parang photo manipulation na lang.
Digital imagery na siya. Okay, let's edit this.
Yun.
So,
okay,
always remember, when editing your file, you have to look at your histogram. Kasi ang histogram is the digital interpolation of all the data of your images, from the shadow to highlights. So pag tiningnan mo at drinag mo yung mouse mo over the histogram, you can see shadows, you can see, this is the blacks, shadows, exposure, highlights, and whites. Ito yan, nandito yan sa main or basic control. So exposure, contrast. So pag ginalaw ko to, yan, nakikita nyo na nagbabago yung picture. Ang maganda niyan, sa Camera Raw, you can directly shift the histogram. Hindi mo na kailangan galawin yung mga sliders. So pupunta lang ako sa histogram. Gusto ko yung midtones ko mas maganda. So ipupull ko yan, nakita nyo yung slider, gumagalaw ng pusa. Ito, yung highlights ko, ay yung whites ko or highlights ko, sobra, nag-clip. Pull down ko yan. Ayan. And pati highlights, yan. Yun. So ngayon, gumagalaw din siya ng pusa. Tapos then, shadows, ayan. So I try to correct my exposure based on the histogram. So tinitingnan ko yan. Katulad ng photo na to. Itong photo na to, meron ka talagang blown highlight. May specular highlight ka. Kasi you're shooting on the entrance of the cave eh. Unless otherwise kumuha ka ng underexpose, which I did here. So papakita ko lang.
Go, sir.
Ito. So this is yung, kumuha ko ng underexpose na isa na to, doon ko mini-merge kasi hindi kaya ng dynamic range ng camera. So ito, tinatawag dito, exposure blending. Pwede mong gawin siya, yun nga, type mo lang sa Google. So just get bracketed shots and blend mo sila. No? Pero ngayon, acceptable na kasi sa marami na talaga may blown highlight. Especially talagang pag ito nakita mo talaga na sinushoot niya towards the entrance of the cave. So again, I'm gonna correct my histogram. No? Para maayos siya. So from here pa lang, kita mo na, konti na lang yung clip ko sa highlights, tapos I have rich midtones. Nagbago na rin yung picture. So makikita mo talaga from before, after. Before, after. So nagkaroon ng detalye dito, nagkaroon ng detalye, and that's for this only, for the exposure. There's so many things that you can do with the Camera Raw. Isa pa dito na always you have to do is ito, remove chromatic aberration. Ang aberration kasi when you're shooting with high contrast area, nagkakaroon siya sa linya. So if you look at the yung tao, yung sa kamay niya, yan, may parang green tint dito. Pag clinic mo to, tinatanggal niya yan. See? Yan, para lang makita niyo yung difference. So, ito yung kanina, makita nyo may bluish dito. Pag remove chromatic aberration, yon. Lalo na sa mga bundok, very important yan. Itong profile corrections, Adobe asked for the profile corrections of the lens manufacturer or the camera manufacturer, and they put it there. So pag clinic mo to, nababasa niya agad kung ano yung camera. Tingnan niyo yung difference. So, pati yung distortion, nako-correct niya. Now, sometimes, I click this, sometimes hindi. Kasi kung feeling mo mas maganda yung dati, na may konting vignette yung gilid, then okay. So ako, for example, I like it better nang hindi ko kiniklik to. Kasi sobrang liwanag ng sides, parang hindi believable. Mm-hmm. So I like this better na ganito. Diba? So, now, when it comes to white balance, ang problema sa white balance kasi, subjective yung iba. They have their own style. So, meron namang iba, binabago yung white balance to suit their mood. So, yun. Ako naman, I try to stay true to the scene. No? So, I have a visual memory. So, pagka nag-edit ako, tinitingnan ko rin yung file sa camera ko. Kasi yung camera ko, tama na eh. Kumbaga, I got the white balance correct in the field. Kaya yun ang magiging visual basis ko. Yung iba naman, memory, so yun, medyo subjective yun. So for me, eto lang, hindi porket Canon user ako, no? If you use the white balance tool ng ACR, no? You will always see that Canon has little changes in the white balance. Kasi always maganda yung white balance ng Canon. So yun. Pero yun nga, it still depends on your subjective taste. So example, mas gusto ko bluer yung eyes. So gagalawin ko yung temperature. Yan. So again, tingnan nyo ha. Ito yung a shot. Medyo aqua. Gagawin ko lang yung temperature to the bluish. Yan ang mas gusto ko. Kasi yan yung visual memory ko nung scene na yon. Okay? So that's one of the things. Pwede mong galawin yung white balance. Temperature and tint. Yung temperature controls yung cooler to warmer, then the tint from greenish to magenta or red. Okay? So yun. Then I also use texture. Ang texture is like unsharpened mask, no? It sharpens the photo. So pero yun nga lang, be careful when using this. So tingnan nyo, pag sinarpen ko to, ayan o.
Nagkakaroon ng ano.
Yan o. Nagkakaroon ng ang problema mo lang dito, if you use this too much, nagkakaroon ng noise and also nadudurog yung photo. So for printing, ganun. Yun ang ano ko doon. Clarity naman is contrast sharpening. So it makes the photo appear sharp because binablock niya pa yung black at pinapa-white niya pa yung white. So pag inano mo yung clarity, nagbabago yung histogram mo. Tingnan mo, nagbabago yung histogram mo. Samantalang yung texture, walang changes. Di ba? So I use more texture and a little bit of clarity. Ayan. So far, yan yung picture natin. Before, after. Before, after. Ayan. May question ba tayo ngayon? Hindi ko nakita kung may question tayo.
Sige sir, babasahin ko lang sir. Basahin ko na lang sir. We have here from Mira, if photos were taken from an iPhone, possible po ba to achieve HD editing similar to a photo taken from a professional camera?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of phone shots ngayon sa mga photo sites like Flickr and 500px taken by a phone. Kaya naman siya. Basta you shooting raw, tapos mag-ano ka, basta gumamit ka ng tripod, shoot ka ng raw, then mag-bracket ka ng shots mo. Kasi pwede mo na kontrolin yung shutter speed mo dun sa pro mode ng phones Then yun, pwede mo i-merge yun. Usually, ang mga raw file ng mga phones are DNG format. DNG is digital negative format, which is the raw file of Photoshop. So yun. Pwede naman. Any more questions?
Meron pa dito, sir, from Win Loner Uy. Pwede pahabol na sa pagtanong. Tanong ko lang kung anong filter gamit mo, Sir Edwin Martinez. About
sa
filter.
Yan. So filters, very important yan. Kasi ang sikreto ng getting the exposure correct is filters. No? Aside from exposure blending. If you
At
want
hindi ito yung filter sa Instagram, sir, di ba? Di ba? Kasi yung mga nanonood sa mga
it's
beginner
a
mga
real
ngayon.
filter square and the circular or the rectangular, the GND. I used HNY filter, the magnetic. It's a new filter. It's made out of Corning glass and it's really good. Wala siyang cast. So, yung mga ginagamit kong filter, I use 6 stops and 10 stops. Ito yung nagpapalong exposure. Then I use a soft edge and a hard edge. Okay, soft edge, yun yung pag may bundok sa horizon, so hindi didilim. Ang hard edge, pag panay dagat lang. So yun ang ginagamit ko. Mostly 3 stops nun. And also a special reverse grad. Kumbaga, kung ito yung filter, ito clear, dito yung dark, tapos pa-light siya. Baliktad siya ng soft edge. Kasi pag ang araw nasa horizon na, yun ang ginagamit ko. Pero for this photo, wala akong gamit dito. Kasi nasa loob ka ng cave So dito, no filters ako dito. Okay? So yun.
So, share ko guys yung link ng HY filters, HNY filters sa comment. So, you can check it out later.
Yeah. Meron ng Philippines dito, HNY PH filters. I think meron dito. It's very nice kasi magnetic na siya Probably gawa kami ni Jeff or I'll make one Facebook discussing filters.
Go sir, go sir. Love to do that collaboration.
Sige. So, eto na. So, tapos na ako dun sa basic. Yung vibrance and saturation, I prefer vibrance than saturation. Ang vibrance kasi, it increases yung nearest hue or nearest color. Hindi niya directly ina-affect yung color yung color mismo. Ang saturation kasi, it directly affects everything. So, mas nakakaroon ka ng color banding if you use saturation. So, yun. Ako konting vibrance lang. Siguro mga plus 5%, ganun-ganun. No? Kasi it has to be natural Gone are the days na sobrang vivid, sobrang makulay. Dapat realistic na ngayon. Earth tones. Yan ang mga uso ngayon Okay. Now, for sharpening, I usually put capture and creative sharpening in one dito. So, ano ba yung capture and creative sharpening? There are 3 types of sharpening kasi. So, you have capture, creative, and output. Yung output, pagka post mo sa Facebook, post mo sa Instagram, kailangan i-target mo siya dun sa size mo at i-sharpen mo siya based on that, which is a totally different topic. Yung creative and capture sharpening, pag ang raw file kasi, walang sharpening yan. You have to bring it back. So ako, usually, linalagay ko dito, which is given to me by an Adobe personnel, nasabi daw nila, it's a universal raw sharpening values, no? So you have 55, 50 to 55, and then 35. Yan. So ang problema,
ulit,
50 to 55, then ang detail, 35.
Okay.
Yan. So ito,
lalagay ko sa comment section, sir.
Ito yung capture sharpening. So it sharpens the entire photo. Ang problema, you don't need to sharpen everything. Kasi ang problema, pati noise, sinasharpen mo. So ngayon, dito, may tinatawag na masking. Di ba nakita nyo dito sa detail? Sharpening, radius, detail, then masking. Yung sa masking, this is the masking of Photoshop. White reveals, dark conceals. Ibig sabihin nun, pag ang picture, white ang mask, ibig sabihin nun, yung effect niya sa buong picture. Pag nag-black yan, yung black, walang sharpening yun. Okay? So, tingnan nyo. Pag pinress ko yung Alt dapat, or Option, tapos nang press nyo yung slider ng masking, naging puti yung picture ko. Ibig sabihin nun, yung buong picture may sharpening. Gusto kong picture, gusto ko lang maging sharpen yung mga ice formation, yung tao. So if I move the masking, kita nyo, nagiging black. So yung mga black na yan, walang sharpening yan. Ang dinalagyan niya ng sharpening, yung mga white. So ito lang yung gusto ko i-sharpen. Understood? Kuha? Ulit.
Sir. Ulit, sir.
So, sharpening ko, 55. Ang detail ko, 35. So, in Photoshop, white reveals, black conceals in terms of layers. So, pagka prines ko ngayon yung masking, punta ko dyan, dadaling ko yung mouse ko dyan, press Option or Alt, okay? Then, right-click, left-click, dilitaw na white. Ibig sabihin yan, yung buong picture ko, na in-apply niya yung 55-35. I-move ko lang yan until ang may whites lang, yun yung gusto ko i-sharpen. Like yung details ng buong parts ng cave, yung tao, yan lang yung gusto kong ilagay na sharpening. Ang tawag sa type ng sharpening to, creative sharpening. You're only putting the sharpening to the intended parts. Boom. Yan. So, sharpen na siya.
Okay.
Tingnan yung before and after, ha? So, before.
Sige, sir.
Tingnan mo, yung detalye nito. Yung yellow na to, after.
Yan yung before, sir.
Ito yung after. Ayan,
Wow. Oo nga. Kitang-kita ko na yung line ng yellow dito.
Yung reflection sa yellow. Okay, so yun yung most important is sharpening your photo. Okay? So, noise reduction, if you shoot ISO 100, yun, you don't need to worry about it. Pero kung may magno-noise ka man, ako usually, ang dinalagay ko, kung ang color noise reduction is 25%, yung kalahati niyan. So for example, I want to put noise reduction, 25%. So usually I put it around 12 to 15. So yan.
Oh.
Safe ka na dyan. Hindi mawawala yung details mo. Ang problema kasi pag sa sobrang noise reduction, nawawala yung texture or detail ng photo.
Yes.
So yan
parang
lang yun.
nagiging kumbaga sa phone
Beautiful.
lingo, nagbo-beautify.
Oo.
Nawawala yung mga pores.
So yun. So this is basically some of my editing. Very important din yung, for example, I want it to be bluer. One of the most, ito hindi ko tinuro sa dati kong masterclass, no, yung HSL. HSL stands for Hue, Saturation, and Luminance. For example, I find that the blue of the eyes parang aqua pa rin. So I can change that. I'll just go to Hue, hanapin ko yung blues. Tingnan mo, babaguhin niya yung kulay lang. So ako, I try to find the best. Kunyari, eto, mas gusto ko to. So +5, mas naging blue yung eyes. Diba? So you can change the hue of certain colors. Okay? Pwede mo ring i-saturate ng konti pa. So kung gusto ko mas-saturate yung eyes, ayan. Kaso, gusto ko nga mas natural eh. Siguro, tama na yung 0. Luminance naman, yung lightness ng kulay. So I can brighten it, I can darken it. No? Yung kulay
selected sa color, sir, no? Sa HSL.
Sa color lang. Color range yan. Oo.
Kapag aqua yung pinalitan mo, aqua lang talaga yung papalitan niya.
Ang problema dito, destructive to. So it usually introduces color banding. Basta anything that touches the color, patay ka na dyan pagka masyado mong ginalaw.
Kaya kailangan sobrang konti lang.
Subtle is the key word here. Subtle
editing.
So yan, ang tawag sa editing ko na to, pansin nyo lahat generalized. Okay? So I'll show you something. Sorry.
Okay.
So
sige sir, habang hinahanap niyo sir, may tanong dito. Sabi ni Sir Erlu, sir, ano yung usual level of saturation? Okay lang ba ang abot 100 yung saturation?
Kung gusto mong yung psychedelic.
Yep.
Ako, I never put saturation too much. Kasi yung most monitors right now na backlit and everything, may konting ini-increase niyo na yung saturation mo. Unless you're editing, yun, naglalagay ako ng saturation talaga. Depende rin sa papel, no? Pero sa screen ng mga monitors ngayon, tsaka phones, I hardly put talaga todong saturation. Kung pwede, subtle lang. Subtle lang
Actually
talaga.
ako sir, vibrance lang inaayos ko ngayon eh.
Yeah,
Kasi,
vibrance lang. Ako, vibrance din. Siguro +8 to +10.
yep.
Yun. Pag sa tingin mong hindi, ang tanungin mo dapat yung mga viewers mo, sa oversaturated na ba yung photo mo? Kasi ang problema mo,
Yeah.
kasi may subjective part din yan eh.
Yep.
Either meron kang problema sa mata, or na tipong sa tingin mo, kala mo dull yung kulay, pero oversaturated na pala. Or yung monitor mo, hindi siya calibrated, akala mo tama lang yung kulay, pero yung pala oversaturated na. You ask your viewers kung kulay mo masyadong warm, masyadong ganito. Kunyari ako, style ko masyadong warm ang mga photos ko. Because that's what I wanted. So, may mga nagko-comment sa akin, sir, masyadong warm. So, tinone down ko yung warmness ko. So, ngayon, medyo mas nagugustuhan nila. So, yun. Anyway, I'd like to show you this. Kanina, lahat ng ginalaw natin, so exposure slider, sharpness, in terms of what's this, yung U saturation and luminance, pati yung lens corrections, lahat yun are global. Now I want to go to the secret of Adobe Camera Raw, yung adjustment or yung localized filters or localized adjustments. Ito yon, yung adjustment brush, gradient filter, and radial filter. For me, dito ang dami mong pwedeng gawin. I spend my time in ACR, siguro mga 70% and only 30% in Photoshop. Pag minerge ko na sa Photoshop yan, I'm ready to resize it for web. Kumbaga, ang main editing tool ko talaga is just the ACR. Parang develop module ng Lightroom. So I'll go back there sa photo na yon.
Go lang sir.
So ito yon. So you have this, the adjustment brush, graduated filter, and the radial filter.
Wow, naka-separate na, which is dati sir, di ba hindi? Kumbaga, alam ko,
Hindi, nandito sa taas. Separate na rin sila.
Okay.
Okay. So ngayon, pag clinic mo to, lumilitaw mga bagong sliders. So lahat to pwede mong galawin to suit your needs. Okay? So ang brush, kung ano lang yung photo na gusto mo, pwede mo siyang palakihin, paliitin. So for example, etong overexposed na part na to, pwede mo pambabaan. So baba mo yung highlights, dapat alam mo yung functions ng bawat sliders. So whites and highlights. So pag ginanito ko rito, ayan o, ang problema, ang pangit tingnan, hindi natural. So, konti lang. Ayan. So kunyari, mas gusto kong yung sharpness dito, yung clarity dito sa eyes, mas grabe. So I can do another one, add, then reset mo siya para bumalik lahat yung sliders to 0. Then put texture and clarity and a little bit of contrast. Then mask mo dito. Yan. Yan. Lagyan mo ng konting dehaze. Oops, sobra. Yan. Para lang mag-pop out yung reflection sa eyes. Yan. Yun.
Which is sir, itong localized adjustment is kumbaga parang selective lang. Kung ano lang yung part na gusto mong i-edit dun sa photo.
Again, general or global adjustment, ito localized meaning selected. Kung ano lang yung gusto mo na part ng photo. Okay? So, isa pang maganda rito is ito. So, pag bumaba ka, may range mask dito. Ano ba range mask? Di ba sabi ko kanina may masking tayo sa sharpening. There are two kinds, yung color and luminance. So, pwede mo siyang i-target per color or per luminance. Okay, for example, mag-a-add ako ng bagong brush, then reset ko to. Gusto ko saturated yung kulay ng damit ng tao. So, zoom in ko. So, saturation, yan, pwede kong itodo, di ba? Tapos, iba-brush ko to. Yan, brush natin. Pwede ko rin baguhin yung temperature and tint. Yan. Problema, tatamaan yung iba. Kung gusto mong mas detailed yung masking mo, go to range mask, click mo yung color, then meron ditong sample color, click mo lang yung damit, Yun.
Oh,
So,
yun lang yung
press,
i-edit niya.
yan lang yung edit niya. Press mo ngayon yung shift to add more colors. Yan. So ngayon, yung mask ko, kung ito gawin, ayan. So nakita mo, pati ito, meron pa rin dito.
Mm-mm.
So ibig sabihin ng kulay yellow yan. So you can still choose the other colors yan.
To trim down.
To trim down. Or you can erase this. Ayan. So
Which yun
ngayon,
yung kagandahan ng brush, sir, no? Pwede mong i-unbrush yung iba.
so pag tinanggal ko yung mask niya yan, yun. So pwede ko pandagdagan yung saturation para mag-pop out siya. Pwede kong paliwanagin yung damit niya para yung view, yung mata ng tao, yung viewer, diretso sa kanya. So tingnan nga natin. Ayun. Mas saturated na siya. Tingnan niyo yung before and after ulit.
Yep.
Before.
At saka ang ganda ng ano niyo, sir, ha? I mean, color scheming. Sabi mo nga, sir, di ba, sa shot pa lang, dapat inaayos na. Which is, nakita ko rin dito na yung the way you plan your shirts, kumbaga, blue and orange is a complementary color, di ba? So, parang
Blue and yellow, yes.
blue and yellow. So, yung part ng orange is, it ano pa rin, it appeals aesthetically correct. Parang, ang ganda pa rin niya tignan.
Yep, yep. Actually, yun nga. So, when you're in the field talaga, kung kaya mo na correct mo na. Kasi, dagdag trabaho pa sa post yan eh. Eto, nando ka na sa field, it only takes like few minutes to correct it eh. So, yun.
Which is,
So,
pag travel, no, sir? Sa mga viewers natin ngayon, na live viewers and replay viewers, if magta-travel kayo, as much as possible, plan ahead. Kung alam niyo na yung mga pupuntahan nyo, plan ahead your clothing din. Kasi, syempre, at least bumabagay yung damit nyo dun sa pinipicturean nyo. Tama ba, sir?
Yes, yes. Ako palagi, may iniwan akong red jacket sa Iceland eh. So, pag kailangan ng model ng mga kliyente, sinushoot ko yon kasi red in landscape, makita agad yung sense of scale.
Yep.
So, yun. Okay, so we go now to the radial filter. It's the same thing. Once you click it, lilitaw yung mga bago, pwede ka maglagay ng radial filter. For example, ito masyado ako nadidiliman pa ng konti.
Mm-hmm.
So, maglalagay ako ng radial filter. Yung green, yan yung 100%. Then it dissipates or decreases in levels as it goes to the border of the radial filter. So, pwede ko pang palinuwagin itong baba. So, patingnan mo, pag ginanito ko to, ayan.
Wow.
Ayan.
So,
So,
saka ito kagandaan ng RAW, sir, no? I mean, the information within the file, kahit, I mean, unlike JPEG, kapag ka medyo nag-adjust ka ng konti, medyo sumasabog na yung photo, which is, compare sa RAW, kahit i-extract mo yung shadows, ang ganda pa rin ng quality niya.
yep. Tsaka, remember, pagka nag-edit ka sa ACR, Adobe Camera Raw, non-destructive to. Pag kinancel ko tong file na to at inopen ko ulit, lahat ng mga ginawa kong edits, makikita mo at pwede mong baguhin ulit. Okay? So, it's non-destructive. So, yun. Do we have any questions, Jeff?
Meron lang dito, sir. Feeling ko importanteng i-mention to. Sabi ni Sir Wendy, hi Papa daw.
Pas papa, si Wendy. In demand ngayon niya kasi parating na stocks niya.
Actually, gusto ko nga siya isama dito sa live eh. Gusto ko siya i-pull in.
Oo, maganda dapat sinama mo sa live para maganda usapan. Para maganda usapan. I-ano mo muna, titingnan ko lang ating mga ano.
Go lang, sir. So far, sir, yung mga nanonood sa atin ngayon, you may comment down your questions sa ating comment box. And sa mga nanonood sa YouTube, thank you sa panonood. And don't forget to share this live stream, live session with Sir Edwin para, syempre, matulungan natin din yung mga gusto pang matuto mag-edit ngayong pandemic sa bahay-bahay nila.
Yun, so, yan si Lex Mampin, kasama ko kanina, nag-shoot ng bird ng ano. Dami namin na-shoot sa Cavite.
Hi, Sir Lex Mampin.
Na-try niya yung 600mm eh.
Actually, nahawakan ko lang, di ko pa natatry yung mga bagong camera na yan. Which is
so, yun.
Superb.
So, yun. So, if you have, sa editing mo, yun. The localized adjustment is the best kasi it easily corrects whatever you have. So, katulad yan, ito, tinan mo. Pag tinanggal ko to, ay pagka, yan, before, after.
Wait lang,
Yan.
naglo-load pa yung after. Yo, ang ganda ng kinalabasan nung after, grabe.
After. Diba? And
Shucks.
actually, pagka
Ganda.
sanay ka na gumamit dito, 10 minutes lang, tapos ka na. Ito, ako, I'm done with this. Siguro, ang makukorek ko na lang dito, dagdag pa ng konting texture sa mga yellow. Yun lang. Probably, linis lang ng konti. Itatanggalin ko yung mga ibang not necessary in the picture. O clone ko na lang. So, yun. Basically, that's it. So, you have the brush tool, the radial. Ang gradient kasi para sa sky usually. So for example, ito gusto ko mas madilim. Parang tunnel vision in terms of pag-view ng mga tao sa photo. Isa sa mga sikreto ng ibang nag-i-edit yan eh. Parang naglalagay ka ng vignette. So, didiliman ko lang to. Yun, yung taas. Ito, tas dito konti. Lagay din ako. Yan. So, para yung view mo talaga geared towards that person and the entrance of the cave.
Sir, meron ditong request si Sir Matoy.
Oh,
Pwede ba daw before and after every filter you add? Hindi before and after from the original. Kumbaga, yung filter lang yung nagbabago, sir.
wala eh. Wala pa dito eh. Cycles
Oh.
between, wala eh. Oh. Wala pa eh. Sayang nga eh. Pwede ko siyang tanggalin.
Tapos gawa na lang ng bago.
Gagawin mo ulit. Yun ang mangyayari doon.
Which is, siguro, mag-post na lang later on ng iba't ibang filter. If kaya pa. Yun. Pero from yung seeing the photo, sir, sobrang, for me, okay na siya. Ready to post na.
Alam, ba't nawala yung mga edit ko? Ala, nawala.
Command Z.
Hindi. Teka lang ha. Done ko na lang to. Tapos papalit ako. Nawala oh. Si Matoy kasi eh. Ulit na naman ako sa lahat oh. Allah.
Which is, pakita mo sir kung gaano kadali. I mean, kung gaano kadali mong ibalik yung inedit mo. I mean, live. Without talking, sir. So, let's have Sir Edwin edit the photo first. So, yun. If you have question, just comment down below. And, yun nga, ulitin ko, i-share nyo lang tong live session na to sa mga kaibigan nyo kung gusto nyong matulungan din sila sa pag-edit nila. Perfecto once na naging normal na yung lahat and nagta-travel kayo, pwede nyong balik-balikan tong lesson na to just to see kung paano mag-edit. And sabi nga ni Sir Edwin kanina, yung mga function na sinabi natin sa gilid ng Adobe Camera Raw, hindi naman lahat gagalawin sa editing. So, kung ano lang yung best fit doon sa photo na yon, kung ano yung kinakailangan ng photo na yon, yun lang i-adjust nyo. Kumbaga, it's nice to have yung mga natutunan natin ngayon, pero yun nga, wag nyong i-apply lahat kasi minsan hindi siya appropriate din. So, yun, we have those mindset lang na kung ano lang yung kailangan ng photo, yun lang i-adjust nyo. So, yun lang. And if may question pa kayo, just comment down below ulit at I think malapit na tayong matapos sa session na to. And yung next part, yun medyo exciting din. At yun, huwag kayong aalis pa. Meron pa tayong isang topic na i-discuss.
Ito na, patapos na.
Yes. Grabe, no? Nasa localized adjustment na si Sir Edwin agad. Kung makikita nyo ilang minutes lang, around 2 minutes, tapos na siya. And that's how you that's the result of the experience and yung everyday practice ni Sir Edwin. So kung kayo gusto niyo ding matutunan yung mga ganito, just practice. And if marami kayong natutunan ngayon, comment nyo lang sa baba kung ano yung mga favorite nyong function na natutunan tonight.
Yan na.
And yan.
Ayaw na naman. Ayan na.
Yan, sir. Yan.
Before, after. Yan.
There you go. Grabe,
So,
parang...
pwede ko pang bawasan yung highlights dito. Oops, yun. Perfecto. Ayan.
Pwede na yung poster.
Diba?
Yep.
So, ito, global and local adjustments. So, my suggestion nga sa inyo, always edit with an intent. Hindi yung bara-barabay. Hindi yung kailangan maipasok ko tong technique na to, yung kung whatever. Dapat whatever the photo needs. It's not because you know a new technique, apply mo. Remember, a technique doesn't apply to everything. So, yun. Yun. So, that's it. Any more questions?
Siguro kung wala na, sir, diretso na tayo sa last na topic natin, which is yung gear being used right now.
Okay, so ayan.
Just to give them idea na kung ano yung mga ginagamit nyo, sir.
So before the pandemic, I was using may mga sound effect akong aso, kapitbahay
Okay
namin.
lang, sir.
So before the pandemic, I was using the R system na, so the EOS R and the 1535 f2.8 for my landscape. For me, yung 1535 is one of the sharpest ultra-wide angle lens. Mas sharper pa siya dun sa 1635 na Mark III ko. And then I also used the 100-400 for wildlife with 1.4 extender, 24-105, yun ang ginagamit ko. So to recently, I've been trying to test this, the Canon EOS R5. So, ewan ko kung nakikita siya. Pero, and the RF 100 to 500. It's now my favorite combo in photographing. So, yan, R5. Nasaan ba? Ito. Yan. Hindi makita na.
Grabe, ang ganda, sir.
Ganda ng ano. This morning I was shooting birds from Coleto to Hornbill to a lot, falconet, mga maliliit na falcons. So, hindi siya namatay, hindi siya nag-overheat. So, I think there's some issues there na I think for video, but for stills, the bloodline of the R5 is still photography and the details. So imagine this, pwedeng pakita lang natin to, sandaling.
Feeling ko, sir, mag-upgrade na kayo, sir.
Kung papayag si Anve, let's see kung papayag si Anve. So may gusto lang akong pakita,
Go lang,
kung
sir.
gaano katalas tong lente na to, or gaano katalas to. So, imagine this. Tingnan nyo to. Zoom in ko. This is 100%. 200, 300. Tingnan nyo. May noise lang siya because I was shooting at ISO 2500. ISO 2500 to. Pero kita nyo pa rin yung detalye. So, even this one, tingnan nyo. So for me, this lens is really something. Talagang mapapabili ka ng lente na to tsaka ng camera na to. So ito, tingnan nyo to.
Ito na, sir.
So, shot ISO 4000, tingnan nyo. This is a 200%, 300%. Sharp pa rin yung mata.
Sharp pa din, sir. Grabe. So, pwede mong i-post web na yun lang, no?
Kahit nga edit mo lang na ganito to tapos kunin mo lang to.
Wow.
Tapos linisin mo na lang. So you have the noise correction here. So yung noise.
That's the power
Tapos
of ilang
sharpening mo na lang.
megapixel, sir? 45?
Boom, linis na.
Ganda.
219% yan yung inano ko ang crinap ko 219%. So this is why this camera is really good for wildlife photography also. Kasi it's 45 megapixel. And the noise handling is really good. The R6 is a little bit better, pero you wouldn't notice the difference.
Sir, anong favorite lens nyo for as of now na ginagamit? I mean, if you will have one lens na pag lumabas kayo nag-travel kayo, anong bibit-bitin nyo?
24-105. The RF 24-105. Kasi perfect yung focal length niya. Wide to get landscape. May konting zoom ka to zoom in for travel. So yun. There's
So if you're,
no,
sige, go lang sir,
there's
go
no
lang.
one lens talaga. There's
24-105.
24-105 for everyday carry. Pero my favorite lens right now, if I'm shooting wildlife, 100 to 500. Sobrang sharpness niya. Sobrang sharpness niya. Though the RF 800 is also good because of its reach. Pero in terms of sharpness, iba pa rin yung RF 100 to 500. Ang problema lang yung price tag. I believe the RF 800 is only $1,000 plus plus. And RF 100 to 500 is kasing presyo ng R6. So yun.
Mukhang magbebenta ako ng kidney. Joke lang, joke lang.
Yun na nga, yan ang problema. So, yun, that's my gears, no? Tripod is also very important for landscape photographers, for bird photography, for travel. So, tripod is a must. Yun yung mga isa. Don't skimp or kumbaga, okay magtipid sa tripod kasi it's a one-time purchase. If you have the money, buy the best. Siguro, ang pwede kong i-recommend, you have Leo Photo, you have Benro, locally. But if you have the money to spend and buy something talaga na pangmatagalan, RRS, really right stuff. That's the tripod I use. Yeah.
Which is, sir, di ba, kunwari parang yung tripod is insurance mo eh. Kumbaga, bumili ka ng mahal na camera, tapos mumurahing
Exactly.
tripod yung binili mo. Sayang yung mamahaling camera kasi may
Sa
chance
tours-
na tumumba.
Yeah, sa tours ko sa Iceland, natatawa ako when I see people with $3,000 camera on a less than $100 tripod. Tapos makikita mo, bigla na lang babagsak. Or, sobra. Meron pa doon, inangat niya yung tripod niya to save it from sa alon, sa ice beach. Bumigay yung ball head, bumagsak kasama yung camera.
Oh my. So yun,
So,
invest on a hindi pala good, great tripod.
kasi it's a one-time lang eh. It's a one-time. Kumbaga, gagamitin mo na yan. Hindi yan katulad ng camera na every 3 years nagpapalit. Yung tripod mo, if you take care of it, like I still have my very first tripod when I started with digital photography. Back in 2006, nasa taas ko pa yung tripod na yung buo pa. If you take care of it, yun. Actually, yung isang tripod ko nasa iyo. Di ba?
Yes, sir. Which is gamit ko
Yung
ngayon.
travel tripod.
Hindi ko nga tinatanggal yung mga stickers kasi parang well guys, this is from Sir Edwin.
Sir, may unlimited version pa ba ang LR? Naku, hindi ko na alam eh. Ako suggest,
subscription na lahat, sir.
ang suggest ko, mag-subscribe kayo. It's only $20 a month. I think it's, tas kung talagang photographer ka and it's a mainstay, then yun.
500 pesos is siguro one project lang yun kung 10% ng one project. Sa buong month na yun, no, sir.
So yun, I hope people have learned something again, and siguro we can share more in the future. I can share. Baka next week I might do a review of the R5 live and show you more files, and also gaano ba kaganda yung dynamic range niya, gaano ba, yun nga, pinakita ko na yung sample, gaano ba ka-sharp yung photo pag clean up mo. So yun, I might do a live on my Facebook page, photography page, Edwin Martinez Photography, on the review of the R5. So yun, stay tuned for that.
So yun.
Thank you, Jeff, for this opportunity.
This is a great way to wrap this up, sir, no? Before we end, sir, saan namin kayo matatagpuan?
Okay, so
online.
You can find me in Quezon City. So online, you can look at my Facebook photography page, Edwin Martinez Photography. I have also my personal Facebook, which I post most of my new stuff, Edwin Martinez Philippines. In Instagram at Edwin Martinez. I have also my YouTube, but I haven't updated it, at Edwin Martinez Photography. Yung Instagram ko, probably I'll update it next week.
Yun.
Medyo, kasi nahirapan ako eh. Mapopost ka sa Facebook, kasi iba naman ipopost mo. Siyempre sa Instagram, I find it redundant in my opinion. So you can do it naman in one platform, pero usually you have to put the hashtags in Instagram. So medyo tinamad akong gawin yung part na yun. So yun. I have my website, edwinmartinezphotography.com, so you can see my work. If I'm selling my prints, it's there.
Sir Edwin
During this
Martinez Photography.
.com, yes.
Okay. So ilalagay ko siya sa comment section. So if
Yeah.
you want to visit, nandito na siya. Click lang.
So for those naman who love my work, yun nga, I'll be selling my prints again, probably the end of the month. Kasi tapos ko na yung first wave ko noon. I don't want to sell sobrang many prints eh. So my first batch tapos. A lot of people, thank you very much for buying my photos. And then yun nga, I might have a second and last batch for the year of selling my photos. You know? These are limited edition, certified, and numbered. No? So yun. Stay tuned for
Grabe. Grabe guys, I recommend na i-check nyo yung website. Medyo napanganga ako ulit. Ang
Then
gaganda
maganda
ng
yung marami
photos.
akong small tidbit articles and tips there, like photographing waterfalls, how to photograph northern lights. You might want to visit it.
Yep. And ayun, consider buying prints kasi iba yung feeling talaga ng pag nasa bahay ka. Parang painting yan eh, na pag tinignan mo, nakaka-relax and iba talaga sa feeling, yung experience, kumbaga iba sa experience na makita yung mga printed photos. So,
Yep.
if
Tsaka
you
I
want
don't
to
sell
buy,
my prints I don't sell my prints that much. The last time
yep.
I sold my prints, siguro this is the second time lang na I'm selling my prints in the whole photography life ko. I don't sell it because yun nga, inisip ko in the future I want to have a gallery. So gusto ko
Mhm.
numbered and limited yung mga photos ko.
Sir,
So
may
yun.
tanong dito, last na. Sabi ni Max Alcala, is that a real Aurora or just edited?
That's the real Aurora. Kasama ko yung mga tour participants ko niyan, they have the same shot. So it danced na para siyang ECG. That's not edited. All of my shots in my websites are not
Real.
composites or not fabricated. They are 100% real. Thank you for that,
So,
Max.
if you want to buy, just reach Sir Edwin Martinez sa Facebook or Instagram. Just DM him kung gusto nyo bumili ng prints sa next batch. And I think it's all worth it, guys. It's all worth it.
And
So, yun.
thank you guys. So
Maraming salamat din, sir.
thank you rin, Jeff. Thank you very much for that.
Yun. So, I think this is our end. If you have any advisor sa mga viewers natin ngayon, sa mga beginners and advanced na nanonood ngayon, and sa mga replay viewers natin na nakaabot ngayon sa part na to,
Ang siguro ma-advise ko lang is kahit na pandemic, be creative. Kumbaga, try to hone in your skills. Editing skills or shooting skills, try nyo other genre, food photography. I've seen a lot of photographers ngayon, they're dwelling into food photography like si Jeff. No? So, or still photography. Try to learn new techniques kasi it will keep your mind sharp. So, yun. And also, keep safe. Though our number of cases is going down, new cases, you'll never know it. So, yun. Stay safe and be creative.
thank you, Sir Edwin. Ang gusto kong takeaway ngayon is yung talagang right there and then, kung kaya, ayusin na yung shot and sa post, yung
Get it
pinaka-content
right
na
at the
lang.
click of the shutter and not the mouse.
Yes.
Okay.
Ang gandang takeaway sa akin nun. So maraming salamat po. Maraming salamat Diones Lago. Maraming salamat Max Alcala for that. Thank you din Albert Candelaria. Thank you daw Sir Edwin.
Okay. Jones, sorry. Ngayon hindi ka umabot. Tapos na. Okay. All the way from Canada yan. All the way from Canada.
You can watch the replay po sa page ni Sir Edwin. After this live, you can watch it later. So yun po,
Okay.
maraming
Also,
salamat. Go, sir.
Yun. Look at this guy's YouTube channel. Maraming content. It's really good. So, Jeff Geronimo.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Have a good night, sir.
Good night, guys.